All right, so it's my YouTube channel now. I'm here with a guy I consider a legend. His name's Kenton Whitman. Very methodical guy. Very spiritual, mental strength, physical strength. I came across him on YouTube before I went on my journey for the wheel, and out of all the survival videos I watched to try to get prepared for the wheel, I found his to be the best, because I think the strongest tool in survival is what you have up here, what you're made of, because honestly you could find food every day, but if you're just hating life, that food isn't going to do you right mentally. In my situation, I had just enough mental strength up here that I could go days without eating and even eat things I wasn't supposed to eat and keep on pushing on. So Kenton, he is the founder, I guess I should say, of Rewild University.
Yeah, co-founder with my wife.
Yeah, and awesome place. 2 days now. I've been with them, and they've been so. I'm honored that he just welcomed me in. You know, nowadays you can't really trust too many people, or it's hard to because of unfortunately what we have going on in the world. But I'm just honored that they welcomed me in their house, and their children just feel so comfortable around me, and they drag me around to show me stuff, and so open to play and give me a little workout. But enough of that, because I'll just keep talking about him and he won't even get to say anything. So what do you, anything you want to say before I start asking you any questions?
No, I'm just honored that you came up all this way to see us, and wow, it was, I remember that first email that you sent, and reached out, and then
right.
Yeah, go ahead.
When I got back from the wheel, I feel like I didn't have anybody to talk to. I went through a transformation of being in the wilderness to where I had nobody to be social with, and I changed into a completely different person. When I got back, I had nobody who I felt like I could talk to who would understand. So I reached out to him, and luckily he got back to me via email, and I talked to him on an hour and just vented to him because I felt like a completely different person. Now I was forced back into reality and had to deal with, driving a car, which I remember the first time I got my car, it took me 10 minutes before I could get out of park because it just felt so new to me, even using my phone. So I was so thankful that he was able to talk to me. And a year later, exactly from when I was on the wheel, my day 4, here we are. So
I think you told me on that first phone call that you were going to come visit. And
yeah, I think he thought I was playing. I try to be a man of my word, and I feel like he is. So it took a year, but I'm glad that I'm here. So if you could describe yourself in one word, what is it? Of everything that you've achieved, if you could pick one word, mine is resilient, but what about yourself? And why?
So the word I'd choose, and I'm actually going to choose a word that is maybe not how I describe myself, but what I strive for, and what I'm really trying to do in my life. And maybe that would be a surprising word, but it's vulnerability. And I had an experience in my teens, kind of a survivally experience that just broke me, and that getting broken and then seeing what was on the other side of being broken showed me that power of surrender and vulnerability. And so, whether it's a survival situation and I'm out and it's really cold and my hands aren't working, and if I'm mad that my hands aren't working and I can't pick something up and I'm resisting what's happening, then I'm using so much energy trying to just being angry instead of trying to do what I need to do. If I can say, okay, I don't have dexterity in my hands, maybe I can use my, the edges of my hands to pick this thing up, then, I've surrendered to what is happening, the things I can't change, and that, I think, allows me to create more change than I would if I was fighting the things I can't change.
Right.
And this goes across the board. So in in relationships. I think especially as men, we're often taught that we have to have walls up. We have to have an image of ourselves. It's not okay to cry or have feelings. And we spend so much energy on those walls, but really those are kind of walls of fear, right?
Oh,
it's saying, I don't want anybody to see what's back here, so I'm going to build up these walls. If we can tear those walls down, then there's that vulnerable part, but then that can become strong because it's not hiding behind walls anymore.
Yeah.
So that's what I strive for, but I'm very imperfect at it. And, every day I try more.
Okay. And real quick, I'm not going to try to out-talk him. If you get a chance, go on his YouTube on Rewild University. 2 crazy videos of him. One where he falls through this ice and with snowshoes on, without assistance, gets out, hikes into the woods. His clothes are almost frozen solid to him. Has a composure to, and even go through moments of failing at getting a fire started with the spindle. Gets his composure together, gets a fire started in wintertime with snow around, and is able to get a fire started. And then goes through the night like that without any food. And then there's another one of him in the wintertime who he survives in the night just with a loincloth on and is able to get a fire started. So 2 videos that I think anybody would love to see. So I just had to throw that out there before I forgot. When did you find your calling into doing what it is that you're doing right now?
Oh, it took me a long time. I knew I was interested in this stuff in my youth, and so I actually apprenticed at a survival school up here in northern Wisconsin in my late teens, going to 17. But then I started following the path of least resistance, and so for a lot of years, Rebecca and I were just, I worked as a cook, I worked at a software company, just doing all kinds of jobs, and that's something where, I hope we could over time reach out to younger people and say, yes, okay, those things maybe made me what I was, but sometimes I look back too and I say, I could have taken, there's a 20-year chunk in there where I could have been doing this, perfecting these skills, and be a lot further along in all this than I am. And so it's slowly evolved just out of, I became a personal trainer, fitness trainer, and then probably the moment was, there was a woman that called me up, and she was someone that I knew, and she had a son he was addicted to meth and heroin and prescription opiates. And just, she said he wants to quit, but he just can't, and he's gone through all these therapies, and so we said, well, why don't we'll take him on for a month. And I just took him out into the woods a lot and let nature do its thing. And he had this really miraculous transformation, and came out of that addictive state. And it really showed me, it was a lesson I had learned in my youth at that survival camp that I was at, but it really reinforced it, that nature is the best teacher. And so,
best healer too sometimes.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing what it does. And so I see my role at Rewild University is kind of bringing people out into the woods, but then mostly getting out of the way and giving them the space, a little bit of guidance, but giving them the space to experience nature, because nature is going to, it hands it to you, it's going to give you moments of peace and reflection and sanctuary, and it's going to give you moments when it feels like everything's falling apart around you, and it's going to bring you in touch with hunger, thirst, and all these visceral human experiences that in our culture we do our best to never experience those things. And when people start to experience that, something inside of them comes out. And I believe in every human out there. I think that every human has this inside them. And if they could be given someone that believes in them and an environment that would foster it, it'd be mind-blowing what would come out of each human, if their passions could be unleashed. And so, yeah, that's kind of my mission, I guess.
Do you think it took you to recover from one of your biggest failures, and what was your method through like one of the biggest failures that you may think of right now?
Oh, there was a lot of trial and error with failures, and I was also someone who was pretty hard on myself, and had a very strong self-image. You know, and it might sound odd, but one of the biggest failures that comes to mind was I was really exploring Zen, and I thought that I was so mindful and completely in control of my emotional state, and this is probably 15 years ago. And then one day, you know, I was betraying myself. I was kind of upset with my wife, and she just called me out in this really direct way. But it was so direct that it just hit me like a wall.
Yeah.
And said, wow, this self-image you're trying to uphold of yourself, it's BS, you know? And I realized, again, there's that giving up or that vulnerability of feeling like I can pretend as much as I want to be super Kenton that, you know, is just, but dang, I get upset like anybody else. And so what happened there is, in that moment, then I gave myself permission to be whatever I was in the moment, to feel emotions, to be frustrated, to be filled with anxiety, filled with fear, and in giving myself permission to feel those things, I think that removed the resistance. And then I experienced a pretty strong transformation of paradoxically being more of what I wanted to be. So in that failure, you know, came this real shift and transformation that we have to fail. It's so important, you know. And now I can be more that Zen monk that I always thought I was. But if I get upset or I fall on my face or whatever it is, I have a more ability to laugh at myself and not get frustrated with myself. And then, yeah.
Right.
So I think that's just what I keep coming back to again and again. And again, I'm imperfect in it. And there's times I get upset with myself and, you know, and shoot myself down and go into spirals of negativity. But every time I can say, look, remember that failure when Rebecca called you out and told you, and then and say, hey, you're just who you are. That's where you are right now. And, you know, now I can shift it because I'm not fighting it anymore.
What would you like to do better or improve on, whether it's through just yourself, your family, or for the university? Like, what is the biggest thing you would like to improve on? Would you like making your university bigger, or like, what do you think is the next thing that you're working on?
Boy, you know, in a way I don't want what I'm doing to grow very much, because the level it's at, I really can still, like the YouTube channel and stuff, I can still have a really intimate connection with people. And if things get too big, I don't think that happens in the same way.
Yeah.
When I think of stuff I want to do better, you know, a constant goal for me in life is mindfulness, is trying to be aware. And that's aware of my external state, but also more importantly of my internal state. And having children, that just handed it to me as far as my mindfulness and awareness level. Because if you know, children will just, they're perfect at digging stuff up and pushing buttons and showing you who you are. And so, yeah, and so, you know, time and again, if I'm lying to myself inside, then I will go downhill, you know, and I won't be the best father I could. And so that's something I work on every single day. And I wake up in the morning and and have intention to work on that during the day, and then I just strive with it the whole day. But there's 1,000 things. I mean, some people call themselves masters of stuff, and I'm a real believer in being the ever student. And so whether it's martial arts or survival skills or, you know, whatever it is, I have so much growing to do. and I better get myself in gear because I've only got how many years left to do it.
Right. I think a lot of times we, as people, we look at sometimes we talk about our failures, but there's also times I've thought that I was going to fail at something, but I succeeded. And watching some of your videos, especially when you're crawling out of, ice water, a lake that's covered in ice. Do you have a big moment, or one of those videos, was there a moment where you fell through the ice, or you're just wearing a loincloth in the winter and you go, I don't know why I'm recording this. I don't know if I'm going to make it. And then you actually made it. Do you have a moment like that sticks out where you thought you were going to fail, but you succeeded?
Let's see. In the ice falling through one, I was trying to get a handrail, and I just kept messing it up over and over. I was starting to melt some of the stuff because I was getting warm and it was dripping and onto the fire that I was trying to make. And so that was one where I was pretty sure I wasn't going to get a fire. But at the same time, I'd already decided to stay out for the night. And so then I knew I would just be running up and down hills all night, and it would have made a crappy video, but I would have had to do it anyway.
For trying to stay warm?
Just trying to stay warm through physical motion, which I've had to do. I mean, I try to challenge myself every year.
Yeah.
So, I put a couple things on YouTube, but most of them are personal challenges.
Right.
And there's been many nights where it's just doing jumping jacks and push-ups and then going for a walk and then sprints and whatever I can do to keep warm. So I think that's something I've tried to do, is not think of failure as, you kind of spoke to this earlier when we were talking, not as an ending, but as just a shift or a transformation. And so if this route isn't going to work, there's something else waiting there.
Gotcha.
And that's, again, imperfect at it, but that's something I try to continue to do, is not get hung up on failures, but to say, that closed the door, but there's other ones that are open now. Gotcha. And who knows when we find down those.
I think that's most of the questions that I have for you, but I also want to give your wife some credit too.
Oh my gosh.
I've met her the few days that I've been up here, and there's a quote that I love that you shared, and it was it's don't look at things as a problem. Well, I think she said it's not a problem, it's a challenge. So meaning that so much we come across things and we go, oh man, I got a problem. Oh gosh, all these problems, always something. And it's up to us to direct that into seeing it as a challenge. And I catch myself doing that sometimes. I'm like, oh, my boss will call me about something. Like, oh my gosh, the last problem I want to have. And I'm like, all right, well, hang on. Let me look at it as a challenge. When I look at it as a challenge instead, I go, when there's a challenge, there's multiple ways you can get through challenges. Hey, how are you going to get over this wall? You can create a bunch of ways how you're going to get over the wall. Am I going to use a ladder? Am I just going to crawl over it with my hands? Am I going to use my feet? Am I going to have somebody help me over it? So I go, okay, you need me to do this? Okay, how about I get somebody else to help me split this up so it can get done quicker? Just, oh yeah, you can do that. Just if you find somebody, let me know. So not even just at work, but certain other things,
Yeah.
It may seem simple, but I really like that quote from her, and I always have it saved. So I think we're gonna wrap it up. We got an X amount of hours before the sun goes down. I think we're gonna try to get a fire started with the hand drill. I think I'm gonna bow this one out. I already made my attempt earlier today, but everybody, whoever watches my YouTube channel or I have on my Facebook, please go check him out on Rewild University on Facebook and on YouTube. And man, I'm so proud of this guy, man. I feel like I've met a lifelong friend, and I want to make it a way that I can try to get up here to northern Wisconsin, at least try to every year, and maybe in the future bring some important people with me that I think would love to see the land that he has laid out and some of his challenges. very awesome guy, and once again, I want to thank you.
Thank you so much.